Resolution 21-133.
I move we approve resolution 21-133 is submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we certify the meeting of closed meeting, resolution 21-133. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Ashcraft? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Aye. Mr. Conrad?
Next, we have the approval of the agenda with no added agenda items.
I move we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve the agenda as committed. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Ashcraft? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Aye. Mr. Conrad?
Aye.
Next, we have approval of consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes from the April 2nd meeting as well as the April 19th meeting. You'll see the minutes from the April 2nd meeting are listed as attachment J. The minutes from the April 19th meeting are listed as Friday memo. Also, budgetary matters, which is attachment K, annual warrants, which is attachment L, and the resolution 21-140 personnel matters resulting from closed session.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and second that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Ashcraft? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Aye. Mr. Conrad?
Aye.
Next, we have a public hearing scheduled. Mr. Jerry Key, Residency Administrator with VDOT, is here to discuss the proposed secondary 6-year plan and priority list. We need a motion to go into public hearing. I move we go into public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and second that we go into public hearing. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Ashcraft? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Aye. Mr. Conrad?
Aye.
Mr. Key.
Good evening. We're here tonight to discuss the secondary 6-year plan for fiscal year 2022 through 2027. The priority projects on the list are Independence Church Road, which is scheduled for advertisement in July of this year. Second project on the list is Otter Dam Road project, which was just completed. The reason these projects are still in the plan until they're physically closed out, money-wise, they have to stay in the plan, so we haven't done the final money calculation. And the Otter Dam Road project for the first section that was built is also being closed out. I'll take any questions.
You said that the, all the roads have been completed, right?
Yes, both Otter Dam Road sections have been completed.
Okay, and then we're looking at all the other ones that you have on the list, there, right?
Yeah, the second list is the actual priority list. Priority list are projects that are in the priority for the county, but not actually in the active plan because there's no funding available for them at this time.
Okay, and then when you have the list, we can decide what one you want to put in there.
Yeah, you can move the priority list, but you also have to have funding to pay for them when you put them in the actual active plan.
That's the priority list.
Yes, sir, the list, priorities 1 through 10.
Right.
Priority 1 is the one that's being advertised in, July, and priority 2 is the one that just was completed. So the next one on the priority list, based off of the list, order 9 would be Allen Road.
And of course, I'm going to take it everywhere and move it up right below, right there. I think it's the most important thing we got going on for safety purposes.
And that's at the board's discretion.
Right.
Change it any time you want to.
Do you all have any additions?
When you think some funding?
Once the Independence Church Road is complete and the Otter Dam Road is finally finished up and money-wise, we'll see how much funding is left, if there's any left. Then the money could be moved over. If it's not, there won't be any money available until next year. But it's only a small amount of money. It's only $32,000. It's probably the only chance that project has of getting advertised is probably doing revenue sharing, which is a 50-50 share match between VDOT and the county. That'd be the quickest way to get it built.
Right, and I think if we get it, like I said, we get there, but I understand, we had this conversation before, right? Yeah, so that's why I wanted to see regular road care, because that would be something I think you could all agree to. Yeah, as far as conversation we had with Kelly.
The application process for revenue sharing is this year.
Mhm.
So the preliminary, early application process starts in May, and the applications have to be turned in by November 1st.
Okay. So as long as that's done, we okay?
Sir,
He says, when the application is, I put on the first.
but you're competing against everybody else in the state for the funding, so there's no guarantee you get
Okay,
the funding. But the actual pre-application process starts in May, so it starts this month.
Okay.
But the actual application has to be submitted and approved by November 1st.
Do you all have any other questions for Mr. Key? If we have any public that would like to come up to comment in regards to the 6-year proposed plan, please come up now and state your name as well as your address.
Good evening, Valerie Whitley, Portable Road, Port Virginia. I'm here tonight to request that this board move the Liberty Road Connector Road project as a top priority. Several years ago, this board, a different board, heard the request of the concerned citizens regarding Liberty Road being a dead-end, no-through street. We petition you again tonight stating the continued obvious. 1, trains still cease on the train track with no apparent field window of time to move. 2, public safety vehicles are prevented from providing police, fire, and ambulatory services in cases of emergency. This street is home to residents, a community trail court, church, food bank, and youth programs. We're asking you to use your authority tonight to put measures in place to prevent a devastating and traumatic event, possible death, all because a connector road was not put in. We have heard from our sheriff on his concerns and support of this project. Let us work together. Please make this project the top priority as citizens' lives are at stake. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Are there any other citizens that would like to comment in regards to the 6-year proposed plan? If not, we'll need a motion to return to regular session.
Move to return to regular session.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to return to regular session. All in favor, with a roll call vote?
Ms. Estrada? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conrad?
Next, we have the action resulting from the public hearing, which is resolution 21-135, secondary 6-year plan and priority list, which is attachment N in your agenda packet.
I move that we approve resolution 21-135 with the addition of moving up the Liberty Road project as a higher priority. Because I mean, you do have people that are gonna get stuck back there and emergency services can't get to them.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 21-135. All in favor, with a roll call vote?
Before you all vote, can we make a determination in regards to what number you want to put that on the priority list, please? If you'll make sure you state that in your motion.
If you look at it, you said all of them was done. What are you doing independent? I thought, haven't all the funds been divided in independent road?
Yes, sir.
For independent road, how many funds already been allocated to independent road?
Yes, the project's got enough funds to schedule to be advertised, but once the project gets completed, there may be some funds left over, there may not.
I guess the question I would ask is that, he asked for a number. If we got independent in all of them, are we saying this would be number 1 If we have no funding on it?
You would move it to number 3 right now on the list because the other 2 hadn't been completed yet.
Okay, so we will make it number
Would
3?
be number 3.
Okay.
Mr. Bishop, you make a motion again.
Do I have to make a motion, we take River Road and move it to number 3?
Second.
It's been moved and second, and we'll move the road up to number 3. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Estrada? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Conrad?
Next, we have items of appointment in regards to the Greensville County Playground. Ms. Kristen Vaughn and Ms. Catherine Howerton are here to report in regards to the playground.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kristen Vaughn, like he said, and most people know me from the YMCA, but I'm here tonight on behalf of CHAP, the Greensville Emporia Community Health Action Team. So some of this may be familiar to you all, but I just want to give a quick recap before we make our request tonight. So Greensville Emporia CHAP received a grant from the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth in July of 2018 for 6 projects, and one of the projects was to put a playground in a highly residential area for children to increase their access to play. So we put that in the city of Emporia, and then when we received a second grant from the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth, since we had put the first playground in the city, we wanted to put the second one in the county. Well, there aren't that many residential places in the county that don't already have their own play set as part of the apartment complex, or that would attract a lot of people. So we had the idea to put it here on the complex, in your complex, thinking that people that come here for Employment Commission, DSS, SPCC would use this and get more physical activity. So at the time, in 2020, this was pre-COVID, so I hardly remember it, and I'm not sure if you all do either. We asked for and received permission to have it here, but the thought process at the time was that the county preferred a playground that was fully handicap accessible instead of just being ADA compliant, which drives your cost up about triple. So that was outside of our grant funding, and I believe there was some funding, a plan to fund it that did not materialize. So, and we're closing up on the end of this grant cycle and needing to spend these funds by June 30th of this year. So Kathy is going to make the actual request. I think she has 3 different options of what we could do. So I'll turn it over to her, but I'm just here tonight to ask you to take some action, one of these 3, so that we can utilize this grant funding that we've gotten and get a playground in our county.
Yes, as Kristen stated, we had applied to a local foundation. The foundation decided that it was a great project. They applauded the county for the project, but because of its location, they could not help us fund the project. It was too far out of town. So in your desk, I had laid some information packet on the project. Below your budget sheet, you will see the unit that is placed in the city at 11,220. And then I took pictures of that unit so that you could see exactly what we're talking about as far as ADA compliant and all-inclusive playground. Looking at the pictures, you will see that there's only one apparatus on the current playground in the city where a wheelchair-bound child can roll up to and play. But also, if you note, they use pea gravel. And you imagine trying to roll your wheelchair across pea gravel. So that is not fully ADA compliant. The county has $64,000 in funds itself, including the funding from CHAP. Your 3 options that I am providing you this evening is just the playground unit itself and poured rubber. Or if you want to make it more inclusive, the playground unit itself and a quartet inclusive play, and that was your final picture in your packet, where up to 9 children could play together. And then your final option would be what we looked at before, the fully compliant, all-inclusive playground unit where a wheelchair-bound child could roll all the way up, all the tiers, and play with their friends and not be stuck at the very bottom. So those are your three options. Staff is asking for direction in how you would like to spend your monies on this playground unit.
As you all can see from what Ms. Howard has presented, the three options again, the first one will be the playground unit itself, which is identical to what's in the city of Emporia, with the addition of adding the cord rubber, which will make it easier for wheelchair-bound individuals. And as she mentioned, there's only one unit that they can actually play with on that section. There is funding available for that, with the remaining funding of $10,031. Option 2 would include that unit as well as adding in the quartet inclusive play. That was, and also the cord rubber. That would leave you all with a balance of $4,564. And the third option will be what she originally presented, which would mean that we would have to have additional funds in the amount of $20,941. But as she mentioned, that would be an all-inclusive playground, so that the children would be able to go up to each level on a wheelchair.
If we approved option 3, where would those funds come from?
If you all did approve option 3, since we do not currently have any grant funds, that would be something you all have to look at appropriating from general funds.
When we originally was presented, that there would be no point asking the county, so I know we have to put $20,000 up for that.
That was the original
Yes.
plan, yes, sir. She had applied for grants and was looking at multiple grant options. Unfortunately, one of the grant options did not come through.
I feel like if we're gonna do this, then we need to make it all inclusive. We don't need to do part. I would like to see us do it all inclusive.
But I just don't think we would do that.
And that's the reason I provide option 2, because that is another level of play for wheelchair-bound children. So it gives 9 other children a chance to play together.
If we start with number 2, can we do an additional later?
Yeah, well, there's plenty of additions out there. You would never be able to put a tiered unit there because the lot will be full. But there are other additions that we could put on later.
And I would also like to say this, I think the location we've had, I know we've had people that want to use that location for weddings and stuff like that, can generate funds from the county. It's not going to generate anything with them.
The location is actually in between the county building and the District 19, so to my knowledge, I don't think that would be
No, it's
large
not
enough
large
to be
enough.
able to do events.
It's only large enough for a play area.
I move we go with option 2.
I second that.
And moved and second that we go with option 2, all in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Estrada? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Conrad?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Ms. Long. Next on the agenda, we have citizens' comments. Mr. Slayton.
Mr. Cyphers, before we go into open the floor for citizens' comments, I'd like to say something, if possible. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Tony Conwell. I represent election district 4 and highway district on the board. First off, I want to start by thanking everybody for being here, both in person and who was watching virtually. I'm glad to see more people getting involved, paying attention to what's going on within the county and the local government. I realize some things have happened recently that have drawn the attention to get people more involved. But over the last few meetings, we've had several people that have addressed the board with concerns and comments. And I've heard what's been said. In fact, over the years, I've shared some of the same concerns, even dating back when I was on the school board. But a lot of things being discussed behind closed doors. But due to confidentiality laws around personnel, legal issues, we have no option but to discuss those in closed session. Because as someone stated, we have taken an oath of office. We are sworn to uphold the codes of Virginia and support the Commonwealth and the citizens which elected us, put us here in this position. So we need to listen to what the citizens are saying. And I find it rather disappointing that we are denying and restricting some of the citizens to get up and speak and address concerns. Because I'm a firm believer if we don't have these open discussions to overcome these differences and work out these concerns, we're never going to move this county forward the way we need to. So again, I thank you all for being here in person and virtually. I encourage you to stay involved. Thank you.
I will make a statement. I was a member at any point in time. I will have to, on this point, Tony, from a constitutional rights standpoint, I would never deny anybody the right to speak. If you're here, you're free to speak. So I don't remember, if anybody's here, you have been denied the right to speak and you can raise your hand. I don't think anybody's been denied the right to speak. If a citizen comment, everybody gets 3 minutes. So if you come,
Just citizen comment?
then that's it, citizen comment.
Well, you didn't say that at first.
And I think that's your constitutional right. You know, citizen comment, anybody that's on tonight have the right to come and speak for 3 minutes. I don't think who you are. We would not deny anybody that right.
Thank you so much.
Are you ready? I'll go to the public comment rules. I'll remind the public. But I would say one thing to follow up. The citizens' comments is actually a right and privilege created by the board. There's no law that requires them to do that. They set aside part of their agenda at every meeting to enable citizens to come up with 3 minutes and address matters to the board. I would also say that the meeting would be chaotic if the board started responding or entered into a dialogue with people. And that's the reason for the rules, is to lend order to the process, not to suppress open and free comment. The protocol with the board is as follows. You've heard it before, but here goes. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. The time limit will be strictly enforced. I keep the time. I will advise each speaker when 2 minutes have elapsed. I will advise each speaker when their 3 minute time period is up. Speakers may only address the board once. The 3 minute sections, speaking sections cannot be transferred from speaker to speaker. As a matter of maintaining dignity and decorum, the board asks that speakers address the board, do not turn and address the audience, and asks that you folks refrain from outbursts like applause, if you would, please. The board asks that everyone at the meeting be respectful of each other. The board asks that when you come up to speak, that you please state your name and address for the record. There's a sign-up sheet which has been signed and that's being circulated.
Yes, we have had some individual sign-ups. Is there anyone else who has not had a chance to sign up yet that would like to sign up for public comment? If you will raise your hand and we'll have a staff member come around and make sure they record your name and address.
May I ask a question while they're passing that sheet? About the rules that you stated?
Mr. Chairman, you want to accept all?
Okay, I'll just ask, does the 3 minutes include the time that I state my name and address? Because you're making me do that. Or do I get like 8 seconds more for that?
I think I can save you 180 seconds after you state your name and your address.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to sign up who's not already signed up for citizens' comments? Again, when you come up, if you'll please make sure you state your name and your address. Thank you. James Ray.
Good evening, everyone. James Ray, 1137 Allen, Virginia. First and foremost, honoring the oath. You took one when you took this office. It would be greatly appreciated if you honored it at all times, including when you're making decisions. Last time I was here, Sussex came and talked about a fire equipment. I felt that part of the board, not all the board, but part of the board was very disrespectful to that gentleman. And it was not appreciated by a citizen of this county. You're elected to this office. You need to be mindful of what the people that put you in this office wants, not what you personally want. Mr. Conlon, thank you for what you said tonight. When you vote on something, vote for the betterment of the people of this county, not for the betterment of you. Have a good evening.
Clint Slade.
Clint Slate, 103 Beach Street Lane, in Boyer. You know, I walk in the door and get bombarded with that sign-up sheet. I don't particularly know when I walk in here what I want to talk about until I get to listen to y'all talk. The one flaw in the system, I believe, is I think we need to talk before maybe you make some of your decisions. But the flaw part is we don't get to talk. Y'all listen. And with these damn masks, I can't read your face. And the biggest of what I do in my livelihood, I read people, and I hope people read me. Makes everything work better. So I'm sitting here thinking that how do we get to the point? Mr. Kane and Mr. Bryan, I talked to y'all after the meeting last week, and I told y'all, you need some open dialogue. You need to talk to people. I need to ask you a question. You need to answer it, and I want you to ask me one. We need to talk. For y'all to sit up there and look like an infant who just messed up his britches, his mama just changed, and sit here and look back at me, I don't get anything from that. You don't talk out here where the people can hear you, so they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know that you're trustworthy of making these decisions. Prove us wrong. Prove yourself right. Let's have a meeting where it's a little chaos. Roll those sleeves up. Let's talk. Let's get going. Let's have a discussion. I can stay here at midnight, and I'm not getting paid. And then I'll read through the minutes, and if I understand it right from what rumors I've heard, we'll talk about cutting back, and we'll have a board meeting just once a month, not two. Now, for all of these businesses that are coming here and want to bring industry and want to do work, it's a process. The process costs money. Well, next thing you know, instead of two possibilities a month, we've got 91 possibilities. Well, if I know this board like I think I know, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to make the money right. If we're going to work half the time, we're going to work for half the price. So I'm assuming that when we cut back, if we do. Yes, sir, gotcha. That if we go back and we're going to take one meeting a month instead of two, then we're going to take whatever that figure is that I've been told you get paid annually, we're going to get half of that. I would hope that if that's not policy, we sat in here and called an audible at our convenience last week or last meeting to make something right. Let's call an audible. If that's not part of the policy, somebody stand up, somebody say it. Somebody give back. You were giving your time, now you're going to get half your time. Thank you.
Bobby Joe Ray.
My name is Bobby Ray. I live at 583 Scotland Drive. I have a master's degree with a concentration in executive leadership management. My resume includes over 20 years of professional nursing services. I am the presidentially appointed Greensville County Selective Service System local board member. I have volunteered with the Jarrett Volunteer Fire Department. My sons both are members of the Greensville County Volunteer Fire Department. I am the wife of a 30-year Army veteran. I have provided you with some of my history of public service to support my understanding of volunteer services, chain of command, and professional conduct. On April 19th, Mr. Reed Foster addressed this board. He is an employee of Sussex County, not Greensville County. The purpose was to request assistance for the purchase of a fire engine for JBFD. Mr. Kane stated that in Greensville County, this board makes the decisions. Mr. Foster replied at some point stating, I followed the chain of command to them, at which point he was rudely interrupted by Mr. Kane stating the chain of command stops here, pointing to the ground mount signal. The Greensville County Board of Supervisors are not within the chain of command of Mr. Foster's. This board had no authority to dictate to Mr. Foster who he would speak to within the Greensville County personnel or when. This board had the authority to decide to approve, deny, or defer. They also had the authority to seek more information. However, they chose to reprimand Mr. Foster as if he had been insubordinate to them. Chairman Brown is the Emergency Services Director appointed for Greensville County and did not have any comments. Mr. Conwell is a supervisor that represents the Monterey District, had no comments. How is it that Mr. Brown did not know the needs of JBFD? How is it that Mr. Brown has not met the JBFD fire chief and asked what the needs are for our county? This board spoke to a visiting representative from a locality with utter disrespect. JBFD provides fire protection services for residents of Greensville County. I own 2 residential structures that are directly provided fire services by JBFD. It angers me that this board would not ask more questions or seek more information regarding the need. Fire protection services in Greensville County is 100% a volunteer service. A volunteer is the definition of a person that freely offers to take part in a task. How do you suppose these volunteers felt about the way you responded to this request for a need they have? How will you respond when these volunteers choose not to get out of the bed when your houses are on fire or your citizens' houses are on fire? Because of your choice to respond. In the end, I end with, when being addressed by the public, please be a good listener. Listen to what others have to say and wait your turn to speak. Look at them when they are speaking to you. It is essential when speaking to others to be mindful of your pitch and tone. I know some of you are unbothered, but you should be. Your citizens need you to be. Never convert a meeting into a battleground. This accomplishes nothing productive. Speak politely and do respect your colleagues, citizens, and your other localities. Thank you.
Mike Gray.
Good evening. My name is Mike Gray. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I would also like to say, as a matter of a joke, and not so much, when these candidates in front of me are running for office and they want to vote, give them 3 minutes to get their point across, and maybe they'll see how they feel. I live at 583 Scotland Drive, and I would like to start by officially requesting to be added onto the next Board of Supervisors agenda. Before I begin with the unpleasant part of my speech, I want to give thanks to the board for their ongoing support in the vaccination of this community against COVID-19. Tomorrow will be the last public run vaccination clinic in this area unless our private partners cannot meet the requirement. I invite all members of this board to come to this very room tomorrow between 10 and 3 and show gratitude to the amazing volunteers. The success that Emporia Greensville has experienced in vaccinating the citizens is carried on the backs of these volunteers. As a community, we can never repay the efforts they put forward. I ask this audience, please give a round of applause for the volunteers that have vaccinated our citizens at this time. At the last board meeting, I did further request to be on the agenda and speak, and I also wrote the board and asked to be on the agenda, and the board denied my request. To me, it's unacceptable that any board can deny a citizen the opportunity to make their concerns known to the very body that was elected by the citizens. And shame on you. That's all I have to say, shame on you. Also at the last meeting, when I did speak my concerns, the board looked at the floor, you slouched in your chairs, and you displayed body language. It clearly told me I'm not interested in all of what you have to say. These actions only make me more determined to share my concerns until someone shows a genuine interest in what I have to say. I've also been taught all my life to make eye contact with someone when they're speaking to me. Who else in the room feels you should make eye contact when you're speaking to someone? Once again, shame on the board for displaying the actions of a child, not the actions of someone elected to hold a seat. Am I expecting too much of the board that's elected sitting in front of me? Like, I have a friend who understands politics here locally way more than I ever care to understand. He asked me, he said, Mike, why are you doing what you're doing with the county government?
1 minute.
And I replied, I'm doing it because it's the right thing. What I'm saying is right. And my friend laughed at me and he said to me, he said, you'll never win. Being right never wins in politics. And this statement really hurt me to the core. And I kept running it through my mind and coming up with the same result. My friend was absolutely right. We don't win for being right in politics. But then I thought about it in a different way. Politics should not be a reason that I stop pursuing what is right. I've always told my kids growing up that knowing the difference between right and wrong is never difficult, as difficult as we make it. It's usually easy to determine right from wrong. The challenge has always been making yourself choose the right way, regardless of politics or any underlying reason. On behalf of like-minded citizens in this community, I'd like to ask this board to make the decision for the right reasons, regardless of the politics or underlying determination. Anybody else in the room agree with me? Just stand up, because I'm not allowed to look at you. I think the board and the other elected representatives should always have to.
Step away from the podium.
You're not the boss.
Your 3 minutes is up.
I just need a little bit more.
I just said your 3 minutes is up.
You think or you know?
I say your 3 minutes is up.
Now I just need a little bit more time.
You've been told 2 times, Sheriff.
I think the board and any other elected representative should always have to answer the question.
1822-415. You need to be removed. From the building. From the building.
This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm telling you. But once again, thanks for your time.
Fred Maldonado.
Good evening. My name is Fred Maldonado. I live at 1006 Doodle Road, Jarrett, Virginia. First, I have an idea. May I suggest that before each board meeting, the supervisors take less or fewer than 30 seconds to repeat the oath you each took as new board members. I believe there is great value in being regularly reminded of promises we make. 30 seconds, that's all. Timely. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all duties incumbent upon me as a board member according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Please think about it. Next item is of interest to the board, I'm sure. This coming Saturday on May 8th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., registered Republican delegates from the city of Emporia and Greenville County will vote for their choice of governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. This reminds me that more than ever in our country and our county's history, it is important that all legally registered voters, especially voters in Greenville County, do the following. Be aware of upcoming elections for county supervisors, board members, school board members, sheriff, clerk of the court, treasurer, commonwealth attorney, commissioner of the revenue. Remember, if you do not vote, you are screaming at the top of your lungs that whoever wins has your absolute total approval. Think about that for a minute. We are way past the point in our county, in our country and county's history that we can simply vote someone in because of great sounding promises and then sit back and let our elected officials be led around by their noses by special interest groups. Remember, there is no more powerful interest group than us voters. Years ago, a popular comedian had a routine where he was having a come to Jesus moment with one of his kids. I remember the following punchline: I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Of course, it was funnier when Bill Cosby said it, but you get the point. So I close with the following. Voters, do your homework, learn about the candidates, learn their names, their position and issues. Actually talk with them face to face. It's hard, but you must do it. If you're not sure you are in fact registered to vote, call Mrs. Susan Conwell, the county general voter registrar. Maybe your address changed. Maybe you got married and changed your name. Mrs. Conwell would be glad to help. Finally, vote. Thank you.
Chris Thompson.
Good evening. Chris Thompson, 5430 Purdy Road in Emporia. I'm addressing this board after our Freedom of Information request that I made was responded to by the county. I want to read this request to you. I requested these documents, the letter of agreement between the county and Terrence Wood, which was already attached, I already had it, the compensation of Dr. Wood. Then I requested Mr. Wood's resume, and this Freedom of Information response says it will be withheld under the Code of Virginia 2.2-3705.1. And I read the code, and they can indeed, you all can indeed, hide behind this code. But what the code also says is that if Terrence Wood will agree to have his resume and credentials presented, the county can release it. So what I say to you, if nepotism was not involved, if other issues were not involved, but the best candidate, most qualified candidate was chosen for the position, then I ask for Terrence Wood in Greenville County as of June 1st to release those credentials. So those of us, not just myself and others that applied, can compare our credentials against Dr. Wood's credentials. Secondly, a thing that the board, with its last minute politics and last minute policy change, still did not address. And that is the potential nepotism with Terrence Wood and a board member that sits on this board. If in fact, Terrence Wood is the nephew of a board member, let me read you what the nepotism says. It is the policy of the county not to interview, hire, promote, or transfer a close relative of a current employee. You all are hired by the county and paid by us. Current employee for employment if, as a result, the employee and the close relative would be in the same line of supervision, either directly or indirectly, or if they would be expected to work closely together on work-related matters. So I take it that your Director of Human Resources, if indeed there is this nepotism issue, you're violating policy and you haven't changed it. Maybe you'll conveniently do what you did last week, and let's throw the nepotism policy out. Where does accountability come from government? And finally, I would say, relevant to all of this, it's really disappointing to see that we can't converse back and forth. We only get 3 minutes and we get cut off. I'm sorry for that, but I would like these credentials so we can review and see. You won't release those credentials, but I do believe the EEOC will require those to be released.
Randy Pierce.
Randy Pierce, 1332 Brick Road, Emporia, Virginia. Years ago, probably 40 years ago, not this board, was similar to the actions of this board. I went through 2 different events, trying as a young couple to get a house in Graham County, a mobile home. Board members on that board at the time had mobile homes right next door to them, but voted me down. That's one session. On 2 different occasions over the years, I applied for jobs. Both times, board members involved in that hiring process made sure that somebody that they had as favoritism had an opportunity to get that job. Did not hire with career or with the background or the education or the experience. They hired somebody that was somebody, a friend or a family, or they had worked before, you know. That happened multiple times. Now that I've been with the state for 15 years, city employee, combination of 32 years, I'm glad the county didn't hire me. Glad I had to follow tonight, this gentleman, because if you continue to do what you're doing, EEO, the taxpayers are gonna pay some more money before it's all over with the hiring practices and the things that you continue to do. I sent an email to each one of you. I have yet to receive, not even a response that you received. I didn't vote for any of it, and I won't vote for you next time. But I do expect somewhere along the line, we're gonna talk on the street, you can give me an answer to some of my questions. My wife's been in human resources for over 30-some years. Things that have taken place and some of the things to do with the salary range, the things to do with vacation, sick leave and things, EEO, that doesn't go very far. Thank y'all, and thank you again for your comment.
Moving on the agenda, we have old business. Item A, the Sussex County request for funding to assist with the fire vehicle. This item was deferred from the April 19, 2021 meeting.
I realize this came to us after the fact, that Sussex had done the preliminary work. But also, we've got to support the fire departments. So I'd like to see us find a way to fund this project.
Doesn't appear to be a second, so we do a roll call vote.
Ms. Estrada?
You didn't make it.
I didn't make it, I just made a comment. I will make, I made it, brought it up for discussion, but I will make a motion that we approve this.
Second. All in favor, roll call vote?
Ms. Estrada? Mr. Brown?
No.
Mr. Kane?
No.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is item B, Virginia Career Works disallowed costs. The request for a refund of $1,534 for Cherry Creek disallowed costs. This item was also deferred from the April 19, 2021 meeting.
Since we have received additional information on this item from Ms. Slayton, I go with her recommendation, and I move that we approve this item.
Second.
And moving in second, to approve this workplace alarm cost. All in favor, with roll call vote?
Ms. Estrada?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
The first item on the other matters is the approval of process for hiring the county administrator. Mr. Russell Slayton, county attorney, is here to discuss this item, which is attachment O in your agenda packet.
I will review for you and for the benefit of the public, the proposed timeline for the new county administrator. Today, May 3, the county administrator job description has been provided to each of you. If you have comments or changes, just let the staff know and we'll make them. You're going to authorize tonight, if you choose to do so, the publication, which would be the invitation for applications. The proposal is publication in newspapers, publication on the Virginia Association of Counties website, publication on the Virginia Municipal League website, publication on the county website, publication on LinkedIn, and publication otherwise on the internet. Tomorrow, May 4, that process and those notice publications will be initiated. The deadline for applications is June 4, 1 month from tomorrow, which is a Friday. On June 7, the board has a regular meeting scheduled to review the applications and determine which applicants to interview. During the week of June 22 to June 25, the board will conduct interviews with the applicant selected to be interviewed. In the week of June 28 to July 2, if it's necessary, it may not be, but if it is, the board can convene a special meeting for further discussions concerning the applicant. On July 6th, at a meeting of the board, there'll be an offer letter dictated and issued to the successful applicant. After June 6th, a contract will be negotiated with the applicant, and the anticipation is that on July 19th, the contract will be entered into with the successful applicant. So the staff is asking you tonight, if you see fit to do so, to approve this schedule.
I move to approve the schedule.
Yes, I just have one question on, suppose we don't get desirable applicants in that 30-day time frame, will it be extended?
The notice states at the time that if you do not have an applicant, you not only you don't find one, but you can't negotiate a contract with one, that the process remains open until you find a candidate.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Ms. A. Shaw. Mr. Brown. Mr. Kane. Mr. Conway.
Next on the agenda is resolution 21-136, fiscal year 21, Fund 17 budget amendment. Staff is requesting approval of the resolution to use solid waste enterprise funds to replace landfill facilities. At the previous budget meeting, if you remember, Mr. Parker was here and presented information and pictures in regards to the current facilities and the need to replace those facilities. Mr. Parker is here tonight to go over the resolution. Mr. Parker.
Good evening, honorable board and staff. I'm here basically just to give another briefing on this building. It was erected in 1987, 33 years old. Currently, it does not meet OSHA requirements for working conditions. It does not meet Greenville County requirements for its employees. We are seeking that we move from Fund 17, $450,000 to line item 9157 to replace facilities. Currently, the funding is available. I'm here to answer any questions you might have in regards to this.
I'd like to move we approve resolution 21-136 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Approve resolution 21-136. All in favor? With roll call vote.
Ms. A. Shaw. Mr. Brown. Mr. Kane. Mr. Conway.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, we have Ms. Yolanda Hines, who is the Director of Community Corrections, here to report in regards to the resignation of the part-time administrative assistant with Southside Community Corrections. Ms. Hines is also here for item B, which is the resignation of the senior pretrial probation officer with Southside Community Corrections, and she is here to present and request authorization to move forward.
Honorable members of Greenville County, Board of Supervisors. I'm here this evening to make a formal request to advertise for the Southside Community Corrections pretrial probation officer. The only change I made was to add to the job description to facilitate groups and to perform drug screenings. And the other position, the administrative assistant position, I'm not looking to fill at this time. Usually during the summer, we hire an intern, so that is the direction I'm moving to hire a criminal justice intern to work with us over the summer. Do you have any questions?
It's very cut dry in the explanation. You've already sent us. I move that we approve both of our recommendations.
Second. Been moved and second, we approve the recommendation, all in favor, with a roll call vote.
Ms. Fisher. Ms. Brown. Mr. Kane. Mr. Carter.
Thank you. Ms. Catherine Howerton is up next to give an update in regards to the Planning Commission April 13th meeting. There will be some time for public hearing on part of these matters, but that will be coming at a later date. Ms. Howerton has been filling in for our current planning director. Ms. Howerton.
Good evening again. I'm here to update you on some of Mr. Pope's projects. The first project I'll be updating is SB 121, Jerry Powell Ministries. The Planning Commission heard this case on April the 13th. They approved it with 15 conditions. This board will hear this case on May the 17th. So it will come back to you for your public hearing on May the 17th. Also, Mr. Pope was working on the proposed comprehensive plan amendments. Again, the Planning Commission heard this on April the 13th. And they passed their, they were talking about solar facilities in the county, and they canceled their meeting, and it's gonna hold that at a later date. But I did hear that you all are having a combined Planning Commission Board of Supervisors hearing on the 27th to speak on solar.
Yeah, I think right before Mr. Pope got sick, we had a vote on the plan, and like he said, it got canceled, and we never got notified as to when we want to have another.
That's what I understood, am I right? Yeah.
So we were just waiting on that date.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, Commonwealth Attorney staff bonuses. Ms. Tricia Watson, Commonwealth Attorney, is here to present a request for bonuses for staff, which is attached to you and your agenda pack.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Eagle Share board members. I'm here tonight to ask you to allow me to move funds that are already in my budget to allow my office to have $1,000 bonus for each employee. The request is because, as everybody else has had, we've had a quite tumultuous year. I know everybody's heard the courts were shut down, and they were to a certain extent. However, I think we had to work twice as hard because they were shut down, because we had to do things to keep the ball moving, even though the courts were not meeting for a short period of time. And even after they started meeting, again, I think the work was twice as much on all of the court staff in my office too. Hopefully this is coming to an end very soon, and right now I think we are pretty much up and running as close to being normal as we possibly can. The money will come from my budget that I already have. I have $6,200 in travel and training, which we were not able to use this year. Hopefully that will never happen again either. And the remaining $800 could come from my temporary employee fund, which I have an excess of, as I've been able to use compensation board money for temporary employees. That would be my request.
And so this money is already in your budget, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's $6,200 in travel and training. And I think it's a little over $3,000 in temporary help, but the total amount would be $7,000.
I move we approve the transfer of funds from Ms. Watson's staff to receive bonuses.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we transfer funds, all in favor, with a roll call vote.
Ms. Fisher. Mr. Brown. Mr. Kane. Mr. Carter.
Aye.
Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
The next item on the agenda is resolution 21-137, the 2232 review extension, urban grid solar application. Mr. Slayton, County Attorney, will discuss and give a report, and which is attachment B in your agenda packet.
On April 15 of this year, an application for a solar facility was submitted by Urban Grid. Under Virginia law, the planning commission has 60 days from the filing of that application in which to make a determination, a 2232 determination of whether the application is in substantial accord with the county's comp plan. If the planning commission fails to act in 60 days, its failure to act is deemed approval. As the board is well aware, Director of Zoning is out, unfortunately, with an illness and may be for some time. So the staff, and especially the folks dealing with zoning issues, are significantly overworked. The Code of Virginia affords the Board of Supervisors the right to extend the deadline for completion of that review by the Planning Commission. And the code does not state a maximum extent to which you can make that extension, nor does it limit the number of extensions which you can grant. But this resolution before you extends the deadline until August 20, 2021. And if we do not know Mr. Pope's condition, if we're not back in good enough shape to act before then, the staff will be back asking for another extension. But the staff's recommendation and request is that you adopt this resolution, which would afford this additional time to the Planning Commission and the county planning staff.
I move we pass resolution 21-137.
Second. It's been moved in second that we extend resolution 21-137. All in favor, with roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop? Mr. Brown? Mr. Carey? Mr. Thomas?
The next item on the agenda is resolution 21-138. The resolution approving the budget for the Greensville County Public Schools for fiscal year 21-22. The resolution is attachment W in your agenda packet. Whereas the Greensville County School Board adopted its proposed budget for the Greensville County Public Schools for fiscal year 2021-2022 on April 12, 2021, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 22.1-92, and transmitted the proposed budget to the Greensville County Board of Supervisors. The proposed budget requests local funding from Greensville County and the City of Emporia in the amount of $10,188,809. The proposed budget is an operations budget that includes $325,000 in proposed capital outlay expenditures for facilities. Whereas the Greensville County School Board has requested an additional $2,310,000 for local funding for capital improvement project requests. Whereas the Board of Supervisors has considered the proposed budget for the Greensville County Public Schools for fiscal year 21-22 pursuant to Virginia Code Section 15.2-2506 and 22.1-93. Whereas Greensville County and the City of Emporia are parties to a school cost sharing agreement for fiscal year 2021, which expires on June 30th, 2021. Whereas the county and city have engaged in extensive negotiations of a long-term cost sharing agreement, these negotiations have not succeeded. Whereas by order dated August 8, 1969, the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia ordered that the city may not withhold its appropriate share of financial support for the operation of public schools by the County School Board of Greensville County. Whereas by letter dated April 2nd, 2021, the county advised the city that the county will continue to make educational services available and facilities to the city for fiscal year 2021 and 2022, and that the county will charge the city for these services based on the allocated cost per student, using the net local school costs of the Greensville County Public Schools and the average daily membership numbers published by the State Board of Education. The April 2nd, 2021 letter further stated that the county will charge the city on per student amount that is 10% less than the net local share cost allocated to the county on a per student basis. The net school cost will include both operations and capital improvement costs for the year. The charge is conditioned on the county continuing to receive all federal and state education aid allocated to the city as been done in past prior years. A copy of the county's April 2nd, 2021 letter is attached as Exhibit A to this resolution. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Greensville County, Virginia as follows. Number one, the Board of Supervisors approves the operation budget for the Greensville County Public Schools consisting of a total of $10,188,809 in local funds, Of this amount, $6,083,318 is projected to be the share of Greensville County of net local school costs, and $4,105,491 is projected to be the share of the city of Emporia of net local school costs calculated as stated in the county's April 2nd, 2021 letter. This sharing of costs incorporates a voluntary commitment by the county to pay 10% more per student to educate county students than the city pays to educate city students, even though there will be no school contract as of June 30th, 2021, and therefore there is no county duty to afford the city that benefit for fiscal year 2022. Number two, the Board of Supervisors approves the capital improvement project budget for Greensville County Public Schools, consisting of a total of $410,000 in local funds. Of this amount, $244,794 is projected to be the share of Greensville County, and $165,206 is projected to be the share of the city of Emporia, calculated as stated in the county's April 2nd, 2021 letter. Of those items, item A, install emergency generator and update electrical panel at the high school in the amount of $175,000. Item B, install new fire alarm system at the high school in the amount of $175,000. And item C, the bus garage addition, which includes phase 3 of the project in the amount of $60,000. Number 3, this resolution shall be effective upon its adoption.
Question. We said the 10%, and I'm looking at 5%, is that? And I'm in our looking at, we're saying 10% more per student, I hope we say 5% more, am I in our on that?
May I, Mr. Chairman, respond?
Yes.
Mr. Kane, it's a good point, and it's generated a lot of discussion. We think from the county's perspective, it's 5%. Take an example. If it costs $1,000 per student to educate students, this proposal is that the county would pay $1,050, which is 5% more than it would pay on ADM. As a result of that, the city would pay $950, which is 5% less. So the spread is 10%. But the cost to the county is an additional 5%, Mr. Kane.
Okay.
With that, I move to approve resolution 21-138 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and second, that we'll approve resolution 21-138. All in favor, we'll roll call vote.
Ms. Extra, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conway.
Next item on the agenda is resolution 21-139 concerning the Board of Supervisors monthly meeting. Russell State County Attorney will discuss a change to the board meeting schedule to only meet the first Monday of each month, which is attachment X in your agenda packet.
This matter has been discussed by the board. There really were two fundamental reasons for those discussions. One is that at present, the county staff is shorthanded. We've got 2 people out with lengthy illnesses. We have a vacancy in 1 position. Preparation of an agenda for a board meeting is a tremendous undertaking. Put all this material together and get it out to the board well in advance of the meeting. And when the meetings are only 2 weeks apart, the process to prepare an agenda for the next meeting begins almost the morning after the board meeting. So given the shortage of staff and the work level that is required in order to prepare agendas, that is a concern. The staff made inquiry and determined that in Southside Virginia, there are 8 counties that adjoin or are very near to Greensville County. And in each of those 8 counties, the boards of supervisors meet once a month, not twice a month. Those counties are, in alphabetical order, Brunswick, Charlotte, Halifax, Mecklenburg, Nottaway, Southampton, Surrey, and Sussex. So the conclusion reached was that the county's business could be conducted effectively with 1 meeting a month, as that's what's done in these other counties. If the board sees fit to adopt this resolution, the board's meeting, which is scheduled for the 3rd Monday of the month, would be canceled for the rest of this year. And moving forward, the board meeting scheduled for the 1st Monday of each month would continue. And so the staff's presentation of this resolution to you is in consideration of those 2 factors, the staff workload and the fact that 8 other Southside Virginia counties meet only once a month, not twice a month. This resolution is presented to you for your discussion and possible action.
I understand the concerns of the time constraints around the agendas. I think we have some leniency there we did this past meeting. I have some concerns about going back to one meeting a month, especially right now, due to budgets, work sessions, other things we've got to have done. I think we could do this down the road maybe, but I don't think right now it's a good time to do this. That's just my opinion.
I feel the same. I don't think it's a good time to do it right now. I would like to see us go to once a month meeting, but I don't think so right now. I think we get a full staff back. I think they'll work fine. Like the other counties just call out. They have a full staff, you know. So right now it's not a good time. Perhaps July, August. That's my opinion.
Are there any other comments from other board members in regards to the resolution?
No action is required. If none is taken, the change is not made.
There's no action at this time. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda. As many of y'all are aware, one of the biggest issues we have in the county currently is the litter that you see on the roads. And Ms. Howerton is here to present a community project that she has worked hard on in regards to an idea of how to combat litter as well as get the citizens involved. Ms. Howerton?
Good evening once again. I'm here to discuss hashtag Green Up Greensville, a proposed community litter pickup program. This is an opportunity for neighborhoods and business teams to assist in picking up litter along the roadways and neighborhood streets. Litter on our streets and byways has become a very prevalent issue. Not only are the county officials concerned and attempting to reverse this issue, but our citizens are calling the office and they're speaking out during your meetings to voice their concerns about the litter. The county's goal is to reduce the amount of litter along the streets and roadways, but also to educate the public on the dangers of litter. Reminding citizens to use a vehicle litter bag, which is free from the county, we give them out every day while traveling, and then to tie down or place their loose trash within bags in the back of their pickups so as not to blow out along the roadways. Staff proposes that the Greensville County Refuse Collection Department manage the community litter pickup program. Each kit that you see here is designed for a team of 5. It can be checked out for a week at a time. The Refuse Collection Department will maintain the kits, replenishing items and replacing the broken tools. Staff proposes to acquire 2 kits for each election district. That's 7 total. We already have one. Greensville County wants to engage the citizens in this project and would love to place pictures of the citizens or the business teams in action. Therefore, we will be asking each team to safely take a selfie, tag hashtag #GreenUpGreensville, and forward it to our office for placement on our website for our Community in Action website page. Staff believes when citizens witness teams picking up litter along their neighborhood streets and roadways, it will inspire others to become involved. The initial cost of the 7 kits is $2,500. I will be applying through DEQ and its competitive litter grant program in July for future funding for this program. Staff is ready to complete the program if the board so desires.
I move that we go forward with the Green Up.
Second.
It's Been moved in second to go forward with the cleanup. All in favor, with a roll call vote?
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Howerton. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous matters, staff work programs, and staff meeting minutes. Do we need discussion in regards to those in the agenda packet? Before we adjourn, we do have a water and sewer authority meeting right after this. If the public chooses to do so, we ask that you'll remain seated for a few moments just so we can have that meeting, and then we'll be done shortly.
I move you adjourn.
Second. Been moved in second to adjourn. All in favor, with a roll call vote?
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
I got a motion to move up the record session, water and sewer.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conrad.
WS 2146, certificate of closed session meeting.
I move to approve the resolution WS 21-46.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
The approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conrad.
Public hearing none, item, appointment none, old business none, new business, WS 2147.
Good evening, board members. The Water and Sewer Authority, transport liquid wastewater sludge from its Bottle Run Skippers wastewater treatment plants to the Three Creek wastewater treatment plant for Dewater. The GCWSA sludge transport truck is 32 years old and is nearing the end of its useful life. GCWSA has budgeted $117,762 in its capital improvements plan for the purchase of the new sludge truck in the FY 2022 budget. The authority staff recommends comparing the cost of the contract haulers to the cost of purchasing, operating, and maintaining a new sludge truck. The staff recommends requesting sealed bids for procurement of wastewater transport services. Staff has requested the board of directors of Green County Water and Sewer Authority to authorize staff to request sealed bids for wastewater transport services with the adoption of resolution WS 21-47. Any questions?
I move we approve resolution WS 21-47 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you.
I move you adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.